Hello and welcome to Pub Nerd. Today we are going to be going over Shining Legends. It is an amazing set, came out with the Sun and Moon series, and is most famous for the Shining set that comes within it, the 9-piece set, as well as Mewtwo. And if you don't know who Mewtwo is, you should go look him up. Shining Legends was the fourth installment of Sun and Moon expansions. Technically, it was labeled 3.5 as it was a special set limited to 82 cards, not a full expansion. The Japanese version of it was originally released in mid-July of 2017, with the English set later being released October 6th, 2017. Now, Shining cards in the history of the TCG and the games have been extremely uncommon, very rare, and super limited in releases. We had seen some in our Neo expansions. We had seen some shiny cards in black and white. We had seen the gold stars, starting with the X era Steam Siege. Point is, super uncommon, very sought after, and it really made a good foundation for this set, which is going to be a set that is sought after and appreciated by fans for a long time to come. Of course, these Shining cards didn't all come in the set. 6 of them came from this set itself, and 3 of them came as promos in some of the sealed products that came out with this set. Check the screen, refresh your memory, and we'll go from there. 6 of them came from the actual set. 3 of the other ones came from the Shining Fates ETB, as well as the Super Premium Collection. You can see those on screen. Super Premium Collection, one of the most sought after premium collections I think in recent history, along with some of the Hidden Fates ones. It was the one that actually contained both Lugia and Celebi. Ho-Oh was found in the ETB. Of course, ETB's usually very plentiful in these releases. Now, the Super Premium Collection, as you would have guessed, is definitely the hardest to get your hands on, and definitely was printed the least. Now, I know reviewing Shining Legends, Shining cards, exciting in and of itself, but today we are going one step further. We are looking at a PSA 10 collection of this set. That's right, all 9 of these Shining Legends, Shining cards, we have PSA 10 ready to be looked at, reviewed, loved, appreciated today. Now, of course, before we get into this, there's going to be a couple components of what we're reviewing here. So to start, we're going to be looking at the PSA 10 cards, going to be appreciating them. Past that, I did take some up-close photos of them, was able to upload them into the computer, try to crop them a bit, get a really clear picture of what we're looking at. We're going to look at those so we can really take a look at the art up close, the gradients, the texture of the holo itself. But in addition to that, and something that I believe everyone should do, everyone who's a fan of the art, is focus a little bit in on the artists. So we're not going to be taking a ton of time, but we are going to be making sure to pay attention to who put together this piece of art and what else have they done? Where do you know them from? And it's something I do when I open cards. If you have ever tuned into one of our streams, I'm always looking at the artist. Myself, Komiya is absolutely hands down my favorite artist. I actually collect his cards specifically. I'm going for a master set. If you haven't taken a lot of time to look at the illustrators, very quickly you'll probably find one that is by far and away your favorite. And you'll see some of the art that they've done in the past and say, oh my God, I didn't realize that all these amazing favorites of mine came from this one person. What we'll be using for reference today, all the information we got around the actual illustrators and what cards they've done in the past, comes from Celebi.net. So Celebi.net, just like Bulbapedia in a sense, has a bunch of information around Pokemon, both the games and cards. If you're ever trying to look for just some information around cards, Celebi.net is a great place to go. In this instance, what I do, I Google that illustrator's name and then Pokemon cards, and usually the first result is Celebi.net. Click on the link and it will present you with information such as when the artist started, what year they started, what set they started on, how many cards they've illustrated, and you can actually see all of the cards down the left side. Now, every once in a while they have one missed here and there. Every once in a while they get credited with one that wasn't them here and there, but it's pretty minor, and for the most part they do a fantastic job. Take time to do that. We're going to be incorporating that in this review because you can't fully appreciate the art without talking about the artists.
we're going to get started at looking at some of these amazing cards here. The first card we're going to take some time to take a look at, appreciate, and just take in the artwork for is going to be Shining Jirach. We have our PSA 10 slab here. Now, pardon the reflection that you see. This is something I recommend for everybody. If you have slabs, protect them. Slabs protect cards, but slabs need protected too. I get these tight fit slabs from Cardboard Gold. We see that this is a 10, as we said, released in 2017 up here. Jirachi, of course, Psychic Steel type that was introduced in Gen 3 as the mythic Pokemon. Really good movie centered around Jirachi. Definitely worth a look if you haven't been able to do that in the past. I think Amazon has a lot of the movies, but some of them can be hard to find. Mine, Pokemon Forever with Celebi, I can't find anywhere. Hopefully you can find it, but worth the watch. Now, of course, Jirachi, not only is it Psychic and Steel, which is a really cool combination, it is also just really powerful in that it is able to grant any wish, which is kind of its whole mythic power. So every mythical Pokemon has some sort of really powerful attribute or story to it. This is the Wishmaker Pokemon. It grants wishes, but it's also incredibly cute. So here, the shiny version, its colors are that the ribbons as well as its bodies actually slightly change color. And it makes for an amazing shiny card. Definitely a great inclusion into the Shining Legends set. We're going to take a closer look here. You can see in the photo that I took here that this card has an amazing artistic work going on with it. First off, the background is pretty generic, I'd say, as far as backgrounds go, but you have the really cool outer space type look to it. In this generation, we had the likes of Rayquaza, Deoxys, and Jirachi. They were all Pokemon that came from outer space to some extent. So it was definitely a theme that went on there, which was in stark contrast to the two other legendaries, Groudon and Kyogre, which are both the ancient Pokemon that have control over one, ground, and the sea. Now, as we look at this Jirachi art, one thing sticks out here, and it's the gradient that you can catch. And some of it's not easy to make out, but what we have are lines that go from top to bottom at a slight angle. It really adds to the look of it because as you hold it at different angles, you typically catch different lights because of catching different edges or surfaces of the texture. This is something that's been used by Pokemon many times throughout their printing. We see it a lot today, especially with a lot of the textured full arts. It adds to any Pokemon card that utilizes them. Now, Jirachi here, you can see that we have the slightly off-color body. You can see that we have the cloak in the off-color ribbons. And really, it just captures the essence of Jirachi, which is just a very joyful, cute, small Pokemon that brings about amazing power. If you've never noticed this about Jirachi, it's an interesting piece of it. There is that what looks like an eyelash going over its stomach. That is actually another eye. The third eye is actually what is referred to as its true eye. And the true eye is the symbolism for its power for granting wishes. So it is able to grant wishes when this eye is open. That is essentially it drawing on its inner energy and power to be able to make those wishes come true. So of course, we're talking about this art. It is pretty basic, but it really captures the essence of Jirachi again. It is a fantastic art here, and the texture only adds to it. The illustrator for Jirachi is Shigenori Negishi. So Shigenori Negishi has done a number of cards for the Pokemon Company. Shigenori Negishi actually started drawing for them around Call of Legends. That's when you can find his first pieces of art. Since then, he has done at least 116 cards. To start, maybe not one of the best for most people, but Hidden Fates Magikarp, Hidden Fates Scyther, Legendary Treasures Gabite, Legendary Treasures Sigilyph, Primal Clash Swampert, Sword and Shield base Hitmonchan, Sword and Shield base Hitmonlee, where you can actually see each other in the background. It's a great two pieces of art that really showcase a relationship to one another, which is a theme that they've been doing more often lately. I definitely enjoy it. We have the Ultra Prism Wash Rotom, which we saw in the set itself, but it was also one of the promo cards. We have Call of Legends Tyrogue, one of his first pieces, but the one that most people are probably most familiar with today, Chilling Reign Alt Art Blaziken Vmax. With all of these, he has put forth a lot of really good work, a lot of notable work, a lot of work that a lot of people will appreciate and recognize. And it's always good to just take a look at who does these pieces of art and appreciate what they've done in the past as well as the art that we're currently looking at. With that in mind, I'll say this with all of them. I challenge you to not only look at this card, the Shining Jirachi, but to go on to Celebi.net or some other source. Bulbapedia also has the same information. It is not as well put together, but it is there. I challenge you to go take a look at this artist, take a look at other artists, your favorite cards, who illustrated them, and just look back at their art and see what exact characteristics they're reintroducing over and over again, what makes their cards pop versus others for you. There's usually one or two things that you can find, some artists even more, that really separate their cards for you. So I challenge you to go out, look for those, find your favorite artists, and start paying attention to that a lot more. Now, something else that we couldn't not touch on in going through the Shining Legends cards today is not just the art and the illustrators, although those are the most important pieces. It is also the focus and the attention and the craziness that came their direction in actually the last 2 years. So, of course, everyone who has collected over these last 2 years knows that we have seen an economic roller coaster within the Pokemon trading card game. And if you look at 2 years ago, things were pretty cheap and settled. COVID started and they hit the roof. So this set, Shining Legends, was actually, in my opinion, one of the most impacted. So when we look at March, April of 2020, Jirachi, a PSA 10, was worth $40. Exactly 1 year later, Jirachi got up to $400 for a PSA 10. Since then, we've seen a major correction within the market. Jirachi, from going from $40 to $400, is now $130 about for a PSA 10. All right, Jirachi, amazing card, amazing artwork. Our next piece is, for a lot, a fan favorite. So our next one that we are going to look at, of course, another PSA 10, and there is a lot to unpack. So again, Rayquaza, another Generation 3 Pokemon. It is said to come from the skies. It is almost the mediator of Groudon and Kyogre. Plays a large part in the storyline as being able to strike balance between the both and keep their eternal struggle at bay, but also having one of the best shiny versions in all of the game. So, of course, 2017, this is number 56 out of the 82 cards in the set. And I mean, really, you just look at this art. Let's catch some of the angles. You can see highlights that go up and down its body, but the lines that go up and down really pop out. Rayquaza, all of himself is actually textured. The lined areas have a lack of lines going through them so that they pop out and separate from the rest of the body. It is an absolutely fantastic thing that it did with the art, and it really brings it out and adds more to it. So, of course, just like Jirachi, mixing it up with the textures really allows you to see contrast within the art. So we're going to take a closer look here. You can see that with this card specifically, the angle here might actually be different in certain areas depending on which way it's facing. So again, with Jirachi, it was more of a flat image. Here you have a much more dynamic pose going on with Rayquaza. You can see it going off into the background. You can assume that it is flying in this pattern towards you. So making sure that the texture reflects the motion of the actual piece of art itself really adds to the art. It's something that we appreciate them doing, and it's something that we've seen time and time again. It is only making the art better. The Sky High Pokemon here is massive. You can just see how long it is by just how far back the tail goes and how small it gets at the back there. It really demonstrates its size and just how majestic the being is in general. As we look at this art more, you can see not only the body itself, its texture, the lack of texture on the lines, but also the background. All of these have a different background, and each background I do think plays to the art itself. So here you have a lot of like prisms and lines of the orange, red, white, and blue. What I interpret this as is Rayquaza actually flying through the sky and not necessarily trying to go and paint fast-moving clouds or fast-moving what have you in the sky. Instead, what they do is use these prisms and these shapes to kind of just demonstrate that, one, yes, he is moving. So you have those lines coming from one central point, which is the back right corner. But when you look at it even further, those colors that I just mentioned, what they do is they reflect the colors that you would typically see in the sky. So of course, light blues, you see the whites, you see the oranges where the sun, crashes through depending on how it reflects. So I think really what the background of this art does is in a really creative way show that Rayquaza is flying through the sky, and again just adds towards the idea that it is coming towards you, and right in front of you you just see the vicious snarl and grin and look of Rayquaza, and it's just really something to appreciate. So of course, like Jirachi, we're going to take a second to look at the artist himself who put together this amazing piece of artwork. That is Naoki Sato. Naoki Sato has actually been around with the Pokemon Company making cards since Heart Gold, Soul Silver base set. He's been around for a while. He's been around even longer than Gishi. He has put together at least 253 cards. Now that is, again, what you can find on Celebi. It's worth taking a look at. His art throughout the years has been absolutely fantastic. If you take a look at his portfolio, some of the cards he has put together throughout the years include Next Destiny's Lucario, Noble Victory's Victini, Plasma Blast Salamence, Plasma Storm Manaphy, Double Crisis Team Aqua's Seviper, underrated art in my opinion, Black and White Zoroark, Black and White Darmanitan, both extremely recognizable cards to someone who's been collecting a while. But of course, you couldn't go through Sato's portfolio without taking a look at a lot of the trainer cards he's put together. And he has put together some amazing trainer cards. Of those trainer cards, we're looking at cards like Battle Style Single Strike Mustard, Rebel Clash Sonya, the Marnie box full art for the previous Marnie collection. We have the Furious Fists Fossil Researcher, Celestial Storm Licia full art. But to really round off the trainers that Sato has illustrated, we're going to round them off with probably the biggest four, and again, probably the best four trainer cards that we may have ever seen. So these include Unbroken Bonds Red's Challenge, Unbroken Bonds Green's Exploration, Unbroken Bonds Blue's Tactics, but finally the Ultra Prism Lily full art. Now, all of these cards are extremely sought after, and for good reason. Now, as if that were to say that he has so many good things in his portfolio, we're not even finished. So if you look past the trainer cards, we have other marquee cards here that everyone is going to recognize. He did a lot of the work that came with the legendary and mythical promos during the X and Y release. So that includes XY75 Palkia, XY76 Zekrom, XY79 Latios, and XY116 Arceus. We can keep going for this guy for a long time, but there's a couple more that really are important to hit. The first one, everyone's going to recognize this as part of a 3 or 4 card set that I think everyone wants, XY123 Venusaur X. It is part of the Pikachu, Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard promos that came out in XY. All fantastic arts, all picture the Pokemon itself, but also a number of Pokemon of the same typage behind it. Epic artwork, but to finish off, we also have the 20th Celebration Pikachu, which of course features Pikachu, Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Amazing artwork. And then we see 2 that are very current, that are very exciting, that are definitely chase cards today, and that includes Evolving Skies Alt Art Duraludon V, featuring Rayhan, an amazing card that I definitely was excited to pull for myself as well as someone else on one of our streams. I've been fortunate enough to get 2 of these in my ventures, but of course the all-new Alt Art Mew V from the upcoming set. So the Mew V, in my opinion, much better than the VMAX, but we're not going to get into that. It's just important to appreciate that this all came from Naoki Sato, and he's put together amazing work. Now, just like Jirachi, Rayquaza kind of experienced the same thing. When we're looking at the last 2 years in the TCG economy, Rayquaza saw the same low price spike and decrease again. So when we look at March and April of 2020, Rayquaza, a PSA 10 version of Shining Rayquaza was worth $70. really cheap, especially where you see, or if you look at where it went up to. So exactly 1 year after that, March, April of 2021, Rayquaza was worth on average about $500, 70 to 500 over the course of a year. Now, of course, just like with the rest of these cards, we saw a correction shortly after March and April. You can now acquire one of these amazing PSA 10 slabs of this card for just $240. All right, so this is where the next two we're going to review are actually done by the same illustrator. So the next card we are going to look at here is going to be Celebi. All right, so we have this PSA 10 Shining Celebi. Again, beautiful card. SM79, so again, when we referred to where they come from before, this is one of the 3 cards that actually came from a promo or a sealed product. So this was part of the super premium collection. This was paired with Lugia in that product, and it's an absolute gem. So again, Celebi, Gen 2, Grass Psychic, extremely popular Pokemon in that number 1, it's very cute and bubbly, and it has an amazing shiny form. As you can see, it changes from its like bluish greenish type color to just pink. In the movie, it is this amazing Pokemon that essentially is just there to protect the forest. It can travel through time, and it can heal things and purify things. So really, in its essence, Celebi is just a really pure time-traveling Pokemon. And as we can see here, it is an amazing inclusion into the set. PSA 10 there. This version of it, 70 hit points, time recall, obviously an ode to its time-traveling abilities, Leaf Stab. Just an amazing Pokemon. And you can see just as we turn it a little bit and don't catch glare, the color and how we can pick up the different shades of pink. It almost goes white at some levels. The eyes turn to a very bright green at this angle here. So it's really just an amazing art. Again, we see some of the same hatchings here for the texture. This one actually goes left to right for the most part in the top, and in the bottom it is vertical. So we'll take a closer look here. Again, when we look at this, you'll see that the left to right is shown in the bright pink portion. The eyes do not have the same texture. They don't have those lines being textured there. And at the bottom part of it, you actually see that the texture is changed to a vertical bit. And even more so, actually, and I just noticed this now, the bottom of the feet where there's shadows, they actually change the direction of the texture as well. Again, the reason they do this, changing up the texture, is because you're able to now, as you hold it at different angles, certain things will pop and you'll get certain colors and you'll get like certain areas of the actual art to be pulled out more at certain angles. So it's a really cool thing that they do with the texture. And this Celebi is absolutely an amazing piece of art. Celebi is a very bubbly Pokemon, and this is absolutely reflected in this Shining Celebi promo. The background, even, you look at it, it is just this very bright color. What it does is just, you have the literal bubbles in the background. You have these just bright lines going through. It's simple. It has the little shining marks around it. And it just really brings out and allows the Celebi to stand out against the background here. So, really fantastic piece of art. And again, this artist, Sonosuke Sakuma, has done a lot of art for the Pokemon Company, just like our past guys. So he's been around since Legendary Treasures. Legendary Treasures was a start. Since then, he has put together over 126 pieces of art for the Pokemon Company. Sakuma has done a lot of work, but I'm just going to go over what he's best known for. Everyone here is going to know what some of this stuff is, and I think a lot of people are going to find that this might be one of their favorite artists because of some of the pieces he's done. We start out at the beginning, Legendary Treasures. We have Radiant Collection Pokemon such as Chikorita, Growlithe, Steam Siege, Shiny Azumarill, most people are familiar with. Even more recently, we've seen some amazing pieces of work such as the amazing rare Jirachi from Vivid Voltage. We've seen Shiny Galarian Ponyta, amazingly vibrant and cute, from Shining Fates. A channel favorite, the Chilling Rain Weedle. It's not like a huge piece, but if you've watched our Chilling Rain streams enough, you've seen us touch on the Weedle and how it meets its unfortunate demise when Heracross, for some reason, gets triggered and decides to just destroy everything around it. But other more recent cards, in addition to that are exciting, are the Marnie promo, so the normal one that's signed within the Marnie box. If you go back a little further, we have Xyp90 Latios full art, an amazing piece of art. You have some cameo Pokemon in the background. And then, of course, you wouldn't be able to go over his work without talking about his trainer cards. That includes SM Sun and Moon base Lima full art. We have the Shining Legends Breeder full art, Lost Thunder Whitney. We have Team Up Erica's Hospitality. We have Vivid Voltage Pokemon Center Lady. And as good as those are, those aren't even his most notable works. So if you have heard of these promos, this is going to excite you a lot. He was also responsible for the Pretend Boss Pikachu promo series. So if you're not familiar with it, Pikachu essentially has a series of cards in this promotion where it pretends to be a different bad, evil boss from the different generations. So it starts with Giovanni, and you see him doing like Archie from Gen 3 and just a bunch of the other villains and bosses from the different Pokemon generations. It's an absolutely amazing set, and this guy's responsible for putting it together. But I don't think we would be able to finish this off without hitting these final two. So Unified Minds Pikachu is another one. Of course, we all saw that take the center stage of the McDonald's promos. That art was used for that. Obviously, a very popular piece this last year. But I think my favorite piece of work by him is the infamous Team Up Latios and Latios GX full art, where they are represented together in a touching way that shows a heart in the sunset behind them. So it's an amazing piece of art, and it's the same artist who put together this amazing Celebi art. Kind of like where we touched on before, another piece is the value of Celebi over this time period has seen also great fluctuations. We went over Jirachi and Rayquaza. One had 800 PSA 10 so far, and the other one had 1,000. When we get to Celebi here, we see, a little bit of a difference. It's really just driven by how little there are. So earlier in the stream, or earlier in this video, I had talked about the super premium collection and how underprinted it was, at least relative to just the packs, and then of course the ETB. So the super premium collection, hardest one to get your hands on, and as a result, Celebi actually has a population of 355 PSA 10s as of recently. Because of that, we saw Celebi corrected quite a bit more. If you look at its value, back in March and April of 2020, it was as cheap as $60 on average. When we go to March and April of 2021, we saw that blimp up to $500. $500 from 60. So huge increase there. And as big as that increase was, Celebi is now on average worth about $170. At one point, you had almost 10 times the investment. You could have walked away with over $400 in earnings just in this one card. Now, the next card we are going to look at is going to be Mew. So Mew, again, is a favorite of many people's. Mew and Mewtwo being two of the most popular Pokemon from the first generation, and probably the most popular Pokemon even to this day. Mew, I think, was the last Pokemon to actually have a card and to be announced as part of Generation 1. I believe it got released with Fossil Mew, which later became an English promo, which was promo 8 and 9. 9 was the holo version. Mew, very popular Pokemon, and I think is renowned as being one of the best shinies in the game. So obviously Mew is a very light, soft pink normally, and we see its shiny being this baby blue, and it's just a beautiful shiny in general. You can't go wrong with it. Koro Mew is the first time we saw that printed, a legendary card, and this shiny Mew is not too far behind it and definitely holds up the mantle that Mew sits on that front. So again, we look at this PSA 10 version of it. It's just a beautiful slab, a beautiful piece. Number 40 of this set. It's grouped in with the rest of the sidekicks. But as we get closer, you can just see how that baby blue changes, especially on different parts. You can see that the texture is different on its right arm and around the head to kind of just give a different color going on there. It brings it out almost in a 3D way, just a little bit. Beautiful card here. You can just play with it all you want, and you'll find a million different amazing things you'll find with the card. But let's take a closer look. Mew is said to have the DNA of every Pokemon.
in existence.
It's an interesting concept, especially once you go into the whole, well, Arcade's created the universe, but we're not going to get into that today. When we look at this art, Mew, the beginning of Pokemon essentially, and their existence, we can see many amazing things about this art. Just like the other ones, the actual texture that's being used here, straight lines going across the art. So if you look at most of the baby blue, it's going from upper left to bottom right. If you look at that kind of the gradient that is showing Mew kind of going into the background a little bit, showing that it's kind of three-dimensional, it's going from top right to bottom left. And then we have other areas such as like the tail and then the really deep shadow shading at some parts that also is different. So a lot of different directions here. It's just a beautiful card. It really just uses stark contrast, so really bright and then dark shades of blue to really just make it pop. The background again kind of has that prism look that we've seen before. I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent in this case. Some of the other ones were a bit more obvious, but I think it's just supposed to be mystical. You just have this really colorful background where you have some dark colors, some bright colors, which kind of reflects what they did with the Mew art itself. And then it comes into the center where it's just this bright yellow, even white at some points, which builds the contrast when you place Mew on top of it. You have the baby blue skin, you have the white, and then the very dark blue in the eyes. You have the shadows separating certain parts, and then you even have contrast in the texture to kind of show some, dimensionality to the art. So altogether, amazing piece of art. Just like the Celebi, this was created by Sakuma. He just puts together amazing work, so it's not surprising that both Celebi and Mew were put together by the same artist, Sakuma, and that they both came out just tremendously beautiful, intricate pieces of art. Mew has seen that same big price fluctuation. Early 2020, we saw Mew averaging about $70 a card, and we saw that increase not quite as large as the others, but it did get up to about an average of $400 a slab. Today, you can still grab a PSA 10 of this Mew for about $270. So we just went over Sakuma and how he did Celebi and Mew, both amazing pieces, but this next artist actually kind of one-ups that. This next artist actually put together 4 pieces from the Shining Legends Shiny set. That artist is Hitachi Hariga. So we'll get into his artwork and talk about him a little later, but to start off his work, we are going to look at Shining Genesect. So Shining Genesect, again, an amazing piece of art. If you watch the movies, the red Genesect was the pack leader. It's an ancient Pokemon, warrior, tribe type feel. It's a really cool mythical Pokemon, and it's kind of like Shaman, where it's like, it's mythical, but there's kind of a lot of them. So it's a weird, like semi-mythical, I don't know, line that you end up walking. But again, Genesect, really cool Pokemon, has the blaster on his back. You were able to alter Genesect in the game if you had different items. So really cool Pokemon that was introduced. Number 9 in the set, obviously grouped with the grass types. So this Genesect art is one of the arts where it isn't just like this background that's just supposed to make the front pop. The different shades that really pop here. So we have the different shades of red throughout it. Even the white parts, quote unquote, are still like a very light red, almost pinkish. Textures running in all kinds of different directions. I'm not going to go into the directions because there's just so many different colors and shades that they've worked into this that we have it kind of going in all directions. Amazing card and the start of our journey into Hariga. So let's take a closer look. We see that powerful blaster on its back. It's obviously in a leaping pose to where obviously it's running or doing some sort of action on its feet here. The red Genesect, a bunch of different shades of red within it, and you can really see up close here all the different directions in the texture, so that when we turn this card left and right and really look to appreciate the art, you just catch so many different angles of it, no matter where you hold it from. So really amazing how they do that again. We look at the background here, and again, we've talked about how that makes the art almost just as much as the foreground. What is Genesect doing here? It's not just this pose that's kind of, put in front of this really great background that allows it to pop. This is actually Genesect doing something in the Pokemon universe. We see in the background it's currently jumping off of a set of rocks, maybe a cliff, but in the background, to go along with the fact that it's shiny and red, we have this very like white, slightly yellow sun that kind of allows Genesect itself to contrast off the background. But then we see those corroborating colors in the background where it's clearly a sunset. You have the orange sky with the red clouds. It's just an amazing piece, and it really all ties in together the red Genesect, which is even better because it's on this green card. So it just like creates this like two-piece that really allows the art to pop against the card itself. So amazing art. And again, let's talk about the artist. Hitoshi Ariga's been around a while, kind of like the others. Like Sakuma, Hitoshi Ariga has been around since Legendary Treasures. Ariga has put together over 130 cards. So really successful, a lot of art being done for the Pokemon Company, but it's a lot of cards that you're going to recognize. We look back to the beginning and we have some really amazing arts early on, such as Legendary Treasures Mischievous. We have Furious Fists Breloom. We have Flashfire Luxray, Breakpoint Aegislash. When we look at these alone, before we even get to the others, you can really just see that Ariga's good at action shots, which is again something that we see reflected here with Genesect, and we'll even see through these other cards. So Ariga really loves his action shots, and he's really good at putting together a stance opposed to not just make a still piece of art, but make the art in such a way to where you look at it and go, okay, something's happening. What's happening? We go into some of the other pieces that he's done. We see the Sun and Moon promos, 143, 144, and 145, Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos. Amazing promos. We have some other really popular trainer cards that have been put together by Ariga. So we have Team Up Sabrina Selection. We have the Unbroken Bonds Welder, the Shining Fates Ball Guy, Primal Clash Archie's Ace in the Hole, Lysander's Trump card, Evolving Skies Gordy. Oh wait, no one likes that one. Take that one back. We'll let him off the hook for making Gordy because of all his other amazing artwork. But Primal Clash Bunnelby, a full art normal card, amazing action shot again. Sword and Shield promo 39 Pikachu, which we later saw being printed in the General Mills promo. Very popular card. Cosmic Eclipse red and blue trainer card where they're pictured together. And another amazing art piece, trainer art that Ariga was able to put together. And even with these trainers, I mean, these are action shots. It's really his forte here. Breakpoint All Night Party. But to really round out Ariga, Cosmic Eclipse Red Pikachu in the English version, so the character card. So here we have the infamous Pikachu sitting there with Red, just having a good time, enjoying each other's company. Absolutely a chase card, one of the many chase cards from Cosmic Eclipse, part of that character Dream League art that we saw introduced a few years ago. We also have this Xyp90 Pikachu. So if you haven't seen this card before, it's something you need to see because Pikachu, we have the Mega Gengar, Sylveon, Lucario, Pancham. It's just an amazing piece of art that really ties together so much. Again, action shot. Probably his most notable piece of work and one of my favorite arts of all time. 276, XYP 276 Charizard X. Very hard to get your hands on, very sought after, and then just an amazing piece of art. So you look at this, again, action shot. Charizard in the foreground being consumed by these vines, and then Venusaur in the background just roaring. An incredible piece of art that definitely caps off Ariga's work. Genesect has seen the same price fluctuations that we've seen across Shining Legends, Shining Card. PSA 10 you could get for $30, which is crazy to think about. $30 for a PSA 10 version of Genesect less than 2 years ago. Just like the others, Genesect at the peak of the price and craze got all the way up to $210, 7 times that value. And just like the others, we've seen a major correction with Genesect, more than halving. Now on average, you can get Genesect for about $100. So on the Ariga train comes Volcanion. Let's look at Volcanion. Volcanion again is another legendary or mythical Pokemon within the set that is just an absolute specter. In the movie, it was this really guarded, walls up personality. It was there to protect Magearna. It is a marvel of Pokemon. So you look at it in and of itself. It's just this giant, massive machine tube-based Pokemon that has these two giant tubes on top that is able to build up just a ton of water pressure and steam. I really love it as a Pokemon personally. We see this, it's number 27 in the set, had a water typing. Again, PSA 10, Shining Volcanion. We can see that the color scheme here is really unique. When you look at the normal Volcanion, it is red. This one is yellow with like pink claws, pink underjaw, and then you have some red bright and some baby blue worked into the tubes as well. So really cool as a shining Pokemon. Ariga builds a lot of color into this. So you can see as we turn it, you can just pick up all kinds of different colors, and it really just adds to how great the art is, although being one of the less popular. So let's take a closer look. Same with Genesect. There's just so many different shades going on. You can see that the texture is running in all kinds of different directions. Something that we have to appreciate here because it just makes it so no matter what angle you're looking at with this card, whether you're talking about the baby blue or the yellow or the red or the pink or the black, we're finding something to look at and something's popping at no matter what angle. And it just really makes the card spectacular to look at. It's an action pose. We have Volcanion currently taking a big old step towards you. Its tubes are pointed at you. You can assume that whoever took this picture really got on Volcanion's bad side. But just as good as the foreground Volcanion art is, the background is different than what we've seen before. It's almost like a water art. It really just adds to, this is a blue water type card. And you have this yellow Volcanion, which again just creates contrast. We talked about Ariga. It lines up with the action. And just like the others, Volcanion has seen the big price swings. March, April 2020, you could get Volcanion for $25. Again, for a PSA 10, that's just mind-boggling, especially a PSA 10 from this set. And then you move forward a year to 2021, same time period, $200, almost 10 times the value, 8 times to be exact. But today, you can actually get it for a very affordable price of $80. We'll move on from that to the second, in my opinion, second best piece from Ariga here, or second most popular. I think it might be my favorite Ariga piece from the Shining set. Next is Shining Ho-Oh. Fan favorite from the beginning. It's just a beautiful Pokemon. The rainbow colors, the rainbow feathers that ties into the game and into the movies. But something that they did with Ho-Oh is as colorful and majestic as it is normally. They matched it in the Shining version. So Ho-Oh, this rainbow color, goes into this just breathtaking like bronze, yellow, silver, gold. So Gen 2, Master of the Legendary Beasts, Burning Tower, all that good stuff, created them from the ash, resembling the fire type that it embodies. We see the silver belly, silver tail, and you see on the wings that dark bronze going into light bronze and then into that golden color at the top wings. You even see that silver being reflected on the crest of Ho-Oh. So it's really just an amazing card. And again, just like the others, the more colors they built into it, the more directions they threw the texture. So no matter what angle you hold it at, you just get something out of it. So let's take a closer look. Something we keep coming back to with the Ariga, action shot. So Ho-Oh here isn't necessarily battling, but it's, from the look of it, it's a battle cry. So we see those claws outreached. We see them being flared. We see the wings fully spread out, trying to portray a very large, powerful image. We see an angry face, open mouth, probably mid-cry, assuming from like the tongue. And it's just an incredible shot of Ho-Oh itself. Again, the colors with Shining Ho-Oh are spectacular, especially with the texture, which you can see more of here in the close-up. Amazing piece, and just like we talked about before, we saw this with Genesect. We actually have like a background from the Pokemon world here. As much contrast as you see in Ho-Oh itself, we see this with Ariga. There's two pieces of Ariga. There's action and contrast. We see the very bright sunlight from the bottom left corner all the way up to the dark skyline on the top right. Ho-Oh is in the middle of this battle or just trying to flare itself, and you can just see the contrast in the sky and then the contrast of the colors within the Pokemon itself. This is SM70, so this is another promo, and this was actually the promo that was found in the ETB. Moving on, we talk about the value. The ETB obviously was printed, very highly, just like we normally see with ETBs. Plenty to go around. So with that, Ho-Oh has 1,057 as of recently. So plenty of submissions here. PSA 10s here, very popular. And just like the others, we saw some crazy price swings with it. So to start, if you looked at this, March, April of 2020, $40, which again, very affordable. A year later, just 1 year after that, same time period, March, April of 2021, it got as valuable as on average about $340. Nowadays, you can grab it for about $160. To wrap up the Ariga train, we have the most notorious card from this set, Shining Lugia. So Shining Lugia here, SM82. It is another piece from that super premium collection. It was part of that with the Rainbow Ho-Oh as well as the Shining Celebi. It is a beautiful piece of work. Lugia is usually that blue and light blue color, but here, Shining Lugia is a pink and light pink instead. So we see that switch from blue to pink a lot. We see it with Mew opposite way around. So it's something that we see with Lugia as well. And it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see with the texture, 3 shades going on, and it really makes for a simple but gorgeous piece. Again, with the Riga, we see a couple things. So with the Riga artwork, there is contrast and there is action. So we see again, Lugia. I mean, just keep turning this card and look at the wings are almost coming off like rainbow at some angles with how they texture it and the color that they choose. So it's really magnificent. But again, it's an action shot, kind of like Ho-Oh. You can almost assume maybe they're facing off. Lugia here, you have the sky in the background and you just have it creating itself as this very large being mid-roar, obviously just trying to show off their angry, very similar to what we see with Ho-Oh's shot. So let's take a closer look. We see the texture going in different directions for the different colors, really adds to what we're seeing. So kind of like what we saw prior, we have the blue background and then just the pink. So they're 2 totally different color scales, and it really just creates this dynamic, contrasting piece of art. The background, again, we actually have a background tied into it. We see that with the Riga with 3 pieces now. You have the ocean on the bottom. And it's almost like Lugia is so high here where you can see the curve of the earth, which is just insane. Really adds to the specter or the spectacle of the piece. Really amazing piece of art put together by Ariga. And when we look at this set as a whole, Lugia takes the cake for a couple reasons. One, Lugia is among the highest of chase cards among collectors. When you add that into it being shiny, it adds even more. And then you combine that with it being part of the super premium collection, making it the least printed in the entire set, along with the promos, right there with Celebi. So all those things combined really drive us into the next piece, the pricing. Within 2 years ago, March, April 2020, Lugia was $90, which when you think of this amazing staple of this collection, getting it for sub $100 is just, you can't fathom that now because, I mean, as recently as a few months ago, the raw card was worth $100 in mint form, and that's not even a guaranteed 10. So to say that you could get the PSA 10 version of it for less than $100 is just mind-boggling. But just like with the others, this one is where we saw the biggest swings in prices. Lugia popped 438, so almost as low as Celebi, but half to a third of the rest of them. March, April of 2021, Lugia's average sales price was $1,400, $1,400 US. So we saw an increase of almost 15 times the value. Biggest example of that big price swing, and it makes sense that Lugia would be the biggest and the baddest. It always has to be, and it's just as crazy to see how much it's corrected. Nowadays, as sought after as it is by far still the most valuable card in the set. But nowadays, you can get it on average for about $640. Even with that, if you got in on Lugia at the beginning, $90, you would still have increased your investment by 7 times. So to put that into perspective, some of the other cards at their peak were about 7 or 8 times that initial value, and then obviously have come down since then. Lugia after correction is still 7 times that initial value. So again, Lugia, amazing Pokemon, amazing card. Really makes sense that it would have all this just craze surrounding it. We've gotten through Ariga, 4 cards. The last one we have here is Arceus. So of course it makes sense that I would save Arceus for last. Arceus is my favorite Pokemon, and I think that the artist that put together Arceus also just has so much to go over. So many amazing cards. It's just a great way to finish off the videos. So Arceus, a Gen 4 mythical Pokemon. It is the god of Pokemon. It created the Pokemon universe. Not only did it create the universe, but it created Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, which control time, space, and the reverse world. So Arceus, by far the strongest and most majestic of beasts. The movie did it so much justice too. It has the ability to, just as quickly as making the universe, destroy the universe in its creation. So in the movie, obviously, because it was angry at humans for stealing its plates, it tried to wipe out all of humanity. Arceus is normal type, which is its base. Obviously, it can become any type since it created all the typings. Number 57 grouped in with those. PSA 10, it is just an absolutely beautiful card. But Shining Arceus, we usually see it with its white version. When it becomes Shining, it becomes like this yellow gold version of Arceus, which is just this absolutely beautiful Pokemon, and it makes a stunning card. And again, just like with the rest of them, we have multiple shades. We have the dark gray, almost black, orange, yellow, gold, green in its eyes, all kinds of stuff going on. We change the angle at which we hold it at, and we just catch so much beautiful artwork and so many different angles with this texture. So let's take a closer look. Again, you can see that with each of these colors comes a different texture direction, which makes it so that no matter what angle you hold it at, different thing pops, which adds to just how wonderful the artwork is. But Arceus, we see it in almost an action stoic pose. I don't know if it's quite action, but it's definitely stoic. It's majestic. You can see the center of it, the golden center with the green gems, usually where the shards come out of, or the plates where it stores all of its power. It's just an amazing Pokemon. In the art, you have the glow around Arceus, which really just adds to like, this is the god. It has that Halo-esque effect with the glow around it. And to make it even better, we've talked about this before, as good as the art is itself, sometimes the background can really add to it, and this is one of those areas. So again, first thing you see is you have these, the shining sparkles. We have Arceus in this yellow glow, and then the background is this pink, purple, just kind of space out into the universe look to it. And it just really just adds to the effect of this contrast in the piece. And of course, you just have it like, where is this Pokemon? Well, it's probably off creating a universe. It's an amazing piece of art. So when we look at the art again, we haven't done this in a bit because we had a Rigo with 4 pieces from the set, but this was put together by Kauki Sato. And I'm hoping I'm saying that right. He has been around the longest of all the artists we've looked at today, and he's done the most pieces. He started with his first pieces back in Aquapolis. So you're talking e-reader generation. Since then, he has put together over 625 pieces of art for the Pokemon Company. Absolutely amazing. And when we go over some of these pieces of art, you will just be stunned. To start, this isn't the first time he's put together Arceus. He was actually the artist of AR4, the Water Arceus from the Platinum Arceus set. We have the Eevee heroes Mawile, Meowth, Smeargle, and Eldegoss, where we see them traveling down the same path. It ties them all together, and you can see the different footprints going through the path, which is the order in which they went through. Really cool pieces of art. He's done the Celebrations Lugia that we see coming out recently. We have the Legend Maker Mew, which is, I think for me, one of the best Mew cards we've seen. We've also seen Xyp90, another piece of art put together by Sato. I think it's definitely one of the favorite promo pieces. The Stormfront Shiny Duskull, really amazing shiny that we saw from the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum releases. It gets so much better. Honcho Rayquaza Pikachu, another piece of work by Sato, an amazing card. one that I would really like someday myself. Hopefully one day I get my hands on it. But if you like plumbers, you'll like the fact that he put together the Luigi and Mario full art and regular promos in the Japanese promo releases. It is just, they're amazing pieces of art and very popular, very hard to get your hands on, and very highly sought after. So really great pieces of work there, but that's not even his best work. We also have the Nintendo promo 12 Pikachu, very popular promo. We have Skyridge Moltres, one of the best e-reader holos from that generation in my opinion. We have Delta Species Charizard, which again, Charizard very popular, but Delta Species Charizard, where it was the electric typing, I think a lot of people, it's a staple in their collection. One of my all-time favorite pieces of art, XY promo 232, Pokemon Center promo, Shiny Rayquaza, where the whole thing is a cracked ice hollow. I posted it on my Instagram a number of times. It's just an amazing piece of art here. He is the highly acclaimed artist of the alt art Arceus Dialga Palkia from Cosmic Eclipse, where they are cast in stone. Again, one of the most highly sought after pieces from that set, and that set was loaded with highly sought after cards. So it's saying a lot. And even more recently than that, we saw the alt art Espeon Vmax from EV Heroes. So yes, he made that card as if his portfolio wasn't good enough. He put together that amazing alt art Espeon Vmax where it's just sleeping on the roof. I think one of the favorites from fans as part of those releases. The second to last card I'm going to talk about is the XY121 Charizard. Again, this is from that promo set that we saw prior. It has the Venusaur, the Blastoise, the Pikachu, and the Charizard. They're all amazing pieces of art. Probably one of the best Charizards we've seen recently. And to really polish off the fabled career of Sato is Crystal Charizard. One of the highest valued pieces of art in the history of Pokemon. It's right up there with Neo Lugia and Base Set Charizard and others of that stature, Gold Star Rayquaza. Crystal Charizard is an extremely rare piece, an extremely valuable piece, and for good reason. The art is just incredible, and it just really just is the last piece to really show just how amazing Sato's work has been over the years. And to just get back to Arceus, you can see that mastery and just all of that legendary work put into this Shining Arceus piece. It makes sense that they would hand him the god of Pokemon in this set to make the first Shining version of. So very fitting, and it's an amazing card. And just like the others, we've talked about them, this card was not immune to the crazy price increases. March, April of 2020, you could snag one of these PSA 10 for $40. Year after that, March, April of 2021, $350. So we saw almost a 9 times increase on this card. And since then, today you can get it on average for about $170. All right, guys, so I know we just went through a lot. We went through all 9 cards, how amazing the artwork is, talked about the artist a bit, which again, highly advised for everyone to do. Celebi.net, great place to do it at. Find a card that you really like, take a look at the illustrator and see what else they've done. You'll find your favorite and just appreciate the art that much more for doing it. But let's take one more look at all these pieces of art. Lugia. We have Arceus. Ho-Oh. Volcanion. Genesect. Mew. Celebi. Jirachi. And then Rayquaza. Absolutely amazing Pokemon. Absolutely amazing cards. Absolutely amazing artworks done by just some of the best artists Pokemon Center has to offer. So many different things going on in some of them. The different characteristics you see brought forth by the different artists, from the action shots to the contracts to representing these Pokemon in the best way possible and their shiny form at that. So again, to tie it up, Shining Legends, Shining cards, one of the most highly sought after types of cards throughout, the TCG. Up to this point when this was released, super rare, super limited releases of Shining cards. Again, Steam Siege, we saw the black and white secret rares. We saw the Diamond, Pearl, Platinum secret rares. We saw the gold stars, the shining Neos, but not much outside of that. So when they released a set and said, hey, we have 9 more shinings and they're all legendaries and mythicals, very exciting, and they didn't disappoint. If you were lucky enough, like myself, to get these in March of 2020 or earlier, the entire set would set you back only $465 on average for this entire set of PSA 10s. So when we look at that, exactly 1 year later, March, April of 2021, at the height of the PSA craze, instead of $465, we saw an almost 10 times increase, heavily weighted by Lugia, where this set as a whole was worth $4,300 if you bought them individually. $4,300. And I don't think it was much cheaper than that if you bought them all together. Now, on average, you can get it for about $1,960, so just under $2,000. So if you had sold it at the height, you could buy 2 sets of it now. Crazy to think about. If you did it, good for you. Or maybe you get a set of that and then splurge on another set or something. You have $2,000 extra to buy Pokemon cards and cardboard with. That's exciting. So again, it's an amazing set, a timeless set, a shiny set, a special set release. Definitely timeless pieces to get in your collection, raw, graded, whatever. If you're there for the investment's there. But if you're there just for the love of shiny cardboard and the art printed on them, absolutely worth it. It's one of my favorite mini sets of all time, and ones that I will keep in my collection as long as I possibly can. Hopefully one day, they're like 50 years old and I'm still just looking at them in these slabs preserved. But with that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video today. So when we look at the cards today of any given card set you're looking at, you always have to look at the artist to fully appreciate the art. And I really, really want to impress this into everyone. Go Celebi.net or Bulbapedia, look up an artist that you find on one of your favorite cards, and look at the rest of their portfolio. You'll probably find cards that you love that you had no idea they also made, and you might just get a favorite out of it. And maybe like me, you find that favorite and you say, I'm going to collect that favorite. Now, if your favorite's someone like Sato and you have like a Crystal Charizard you need to collect, that could get pricey. But I think it's something that for a lot of people, if they get really intimate with what these artists are putting together, that may supersede some of the other collections they are putting together, and it might be something they really enjoy doing. So again, I collect Komiya. If you have a favorite artist, I would love for you to comment below what your favorite artist is, and maybe which card from this set is your favorite as well. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Please smash like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can see our streams, highlights, and more videos like these and get to catch more of our content.